to each other, see who's in the room today. I'll start. I'm Andreas Addison, Vice Chair, GRTC, and City Council of Richmond.
I'm Ashley, General Counsel.
Dan Schmidt with Microtransit. Dave Anderson, Chesterfield.
Art Smith, Chesterfield.
Jim England, Chesterfield.
Ellen Robertson.
Todd Gary.
Shirley Adams, CEO. Angela Lord, HR Director.
Mark Renee, Director of Finance.
Sherika Ruffin, RideFinders. Monica Carter, GRTC. Tommy Johnson, Director of Procurement.
And Monica Area.
Over, GRTC.
Anthony Carter, Director. Mark Carter, Safety and Traffic, Michael Murray, Director of Marketing Communications, GRTC.
Ken Lance, RBA.
Janice Swift, GRTC.
Dexter Hurt, Director of IT, GRTC.
Amy George, GRTC.
Joe Dillon, GRTC. Johnson, GRTC.
Great to see all your smiling faces here today. We'll jump into our next part of the agenda, the public comments. Okay, so we had that in our inbox. Sure we did. Okay. Do we need to read that in the record?
They usually do, anyway.
Yeah. That's,
I don't know that we have to, but they usually do.
You have that one. That you sent.
No. In the past, they've rather me, we got it.
would you like me to read it?
I don't care.
I have it.
It doesn't bother me.
I got it pulled up. So let
I
me read
think
it.
we've already.
All right, so here is our public comment received, from yesterday. Quote, the pulse in particular and all routes in general need more frequency, and our transit system needs more funding from the regional community. If anyone on leadership thinks our current investment is enough, I invite them to use the bus for even 1 week to commute, get groceries, or perform childcare. Our priorities are simply engrossing our place. Thank you, Dan. And I think appropriate comments as someone who does try to ride a bus for periods of time on an end. Those are very difficult challenges to do. And mostly I think around transit-oriented development as we look to support our routes and frequency with development around them. Childcare is not always on bus routes or near bus stops. And so that is challenging. And as my class VBA is working on food insecurity and VBA this semester, try buying groceries on the bus, just period. Just imagine folding your bags in the bus on the way home. It's not easy. And sometimes you don't want things to spill, like, I don't know, milk, eggs. And so we think about those opportunities for our residents that depend on transit. Let's proceed on to the approval of the minutes from March 19th. For a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Move on to the consent agenda. Second to review items on the consent agenda. These come from all of our committees. Diesel fuel and the regional public transit. Perfect. Motion in a second. Any comments or discussion? We'll move on for the vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? All right, perfect. Proceed right along. We'll now go on to the operational updates. Operational performance. Ms. Carter, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. So yes, I'll be presenting the operations report, which begins, I believe, on page 10 of the board packet through about page 30. First up, we have the transportation report. And I will share that the KPIs have remained steady with a slight improvement on the lost time rate, which shows that the operators are missing less time and more services out on the street. Of course, here we want to note that this has been the lowest it's been in a year and lower than the goal. And the main reason has to do with the lower than normal number of unplanned absences. We finished March with 316 full-time, 27 part-time operators, 8 are in training. Also, we lost 9 operators, 2 were due to promotions, 1 resigned, the others were terminated due to performance issues. There's going to be 2 fixed route classes in May, 1 class per month thereafter to account for attrition, along with the projected additional service that's coming later in the year. And also there's ongoing recruitment for the 20 operators needed for the microtransit service. 2 classes of the microtransit service are scheduled to start in May, so that they will be ready for the June booking. Regarding SpecTran, it continues to show improvement with the operation based on improved scheduling, and increased staffing levels. Excuse me. We also wanted to point out that the no-shows are lower than the goal, and also the OTP is the highest in a year, and they met the goal for the month. They also have a full complement of dispatchers and CSRs, finishing the month of March with 84 full-time, 9 part-time, and of course they need 96 operators to be fully staffed, so they're almost there. And they also continue to recruit and are meeting these needs by having 2 classes per month. Move on to the risk management report. Accidents are down for the month of March. We did see a decrease in the fixed object accidents as well as the passenger type of accidents. But of course, there's still room for improvement in those areas. And the safety and training teams are going to continue with the training and the safety blitz exercises to reinforce good decision-making skills while driving to ensure everyone's overall safety. As far as the maintenance report is concerned, preventive maintenance for the month of March includes fixed route, SpecTran, and microtransit. It's 82% with the goal of 80%. For the month of March, there were 4% of the fleet was down for service repairs with a spare ratio of 20%. As for the new buses, all 19 are in place and are being prepped for service by mid-May. And lastly, regarding staffing levels, there are 0 vacancies for mechanics, and general utilities has 1 vacancy. Excuse me. As for rider comments, we did have a bit of an increase in those areas that we've been watching, those main categories. Of course, still the training coaches and road supervisors are on the street having a strong presence in those areas. And of course, the supervisors are giving coaching where needed. So we still have work to do there as well. But there were 6 commendations, 5 were for operators, 1 was for customer service. Regarding microtransit, still fairly quiet. SpecTran didn't have a lot going on, but there were 7 commendations for their operators. And we have an adjustment that we will need to make, and we'll update that by the next board meeting regarding some of the stats in that report, which will fix that. And this concludes the operations report. Were there any questions?
Seeing none, good job. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Up next, we have Patricia Robinson providing our updates on the ridership report.
Thanks, Dexter. Good morning, everyone. I'll be covering our Q3 for FY24 productivity report for ridership. So jumping right into it, we have our BRT. We are up 7% this quarter, and that's compared to the same time last year. So this is quarter-over-quarter comparison. And our passengers per trip is also increasing. We did weekday frequency improvement every 10 minutes until 7. And improved frequency on Sunday every 15 minutes during our latest booking changes. So it's nice to see those numbers and ridership reflected. Next up is our arterial routes. So these cover more than 50% on major corridors and thoroughfares. So the ones that kind of stand out as being highlighted are on the bottom as low performers or low passengers per trip. And I say low as it's lower than last quarter, but for the 19, we actually added twice as many trips in our last booking updates. We increased the frequency to 15 minutes. And so we are seeing that increase of 33% in ridership. It just drops our passengers per trip down slightly. The 7A and 7B also have frequency increases and continue to see a steady increase in ridership. I also wanted to point out the Route 1 at 51% increase in ridership. This is the first quarterly report that it's actually an apples to apples comparison because we did that truncation in the downtown transfer station last January. So instead of all three 1A, 1B, 1C going up from Southside all the way to Chamberlain, now the A, B, and C stops at the downtown transfer center and just the one itself goes from the DTS up to Chamberlain. I also wanted to point out the Route 5 is up 44%. We increased the frequency on Saturday to every 15 minutes until 7 in the September 2023 booking. And then let's see. Sorry, I have a little screen in on my view. And then the 1A, the second row down, is up 7% from last quarter. And of course, we did the 8-mile extension in our most recent booking down the Logan Turnpike to Walmart Way. Next up is our community radios. So highlighted here, we have our 76 and 77 as a lower passenger per trip. The 77 is because we had an increase in frequency. So we went from 60 minutes to 45 minutes. So that does come with a 15% increase in ridership, but slightly less passenger per trips where we're adding trips to that route. The 76 continues to be on our low performers for this route category and continues to be monitored. And it does have service recommendations in our transit strategic plan. And that comes to the board next month for approval. So there are service recommendations underway for that route. Here we also have the Route 20, which has a 20% increase in ridership this quarter from its previous quarter 3. And we did a weekday schedule change and improved the frequency to 30 minutes all the way on that route. Next up is our circulator and connector routes. So the 88 continues to be a strong candidate for microtransit. Our 91, we did a schedule change and increased the frequency to every 30 minutes during peak hours. And it has a ridership increase of 15%. 4A and 4B are seeing increased ridership where they absorb the service from Route 13 previously. And then our May 2023 booking increased frequency on the Route 18, which you see it's up 47%. That went from 40 minutes from 60 minutes. Leads us into our express routes. Not too many changes here, but we did add a afternoon trip to the Route 29 to help with max loads. Our average max load is now about 14 passengers, and we are seeing a ridership increase of 16%. Overall, our on-time performance is steady. So we're still at 68% with the goal being 80. This is broken down into on-time, early, and late for by modes, BRT in purple, express in blue, and green in local. And then I just wanted to share some updates about microtransit. So the next following slides are all in the same format, where the left is the total monthly ridership in our month-over-month comparison. So from November to March, and then the next with the columns is just March, because now that we've added 3 new microtransit zones, we wanted to break it down into zone to really show a better picture of what was going on. So our total ridership was 2,564. That's about 18 daily boardings on average for Ashland, 6 for Cloverdale, and 109 for Azalea. Powhatan had 0 ridership, but it was also the last to launch, so it had 1 week of ridership opportunity in March, and we did not see any ridership during that time. Next up, we have our shared versus unshared trips. We can see that we're kind of getting evening out a little bit with our shared versus unshared, just sitting a little over 50%. And the majority of that is coming from Azalea. Cloverdale and Ashland are a little minimal on their shared trips for now, but Azalea started off just the same way. So as people get used to the service and more ridership starts growing, we expect that to change. Trips by booking method, fairly consistent, 20 to 30% of people prefer to book by agent on the phone. The rest are utilizing the mobile application. And then our average wait time is about 11 minutes, and we look at broken down by zone. It's 9 minutes for Ashland, 11 minutes for Cloverdale, and 14 minutes for Azalea, with it being the most popular zone so far. Happy to take your questions.
Any questions? Excellent report, very thorough. Thank you for all the information. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Up next, we'll go on to our development updates. Subcommittee report from Barb Smith.
We had a very busy and full meeting. Because there are so many studies and plans underway. I'll highlight some of those. The North-South GRTC study phase 2 is underway. It just started at the end of March. And that will do the environmental work to clear section from Chamberlain to 150, and also some preliminary environmental on both ends and west. And that'll allow that project to keep moving forward. Another highlight is the pulse station modifications. A 30% design contract has been awarded, and that will allow articulate use on pulse western extension. That is the NEPA and aid services for 30% design is that. And things wrapping up. The East End Transfer Hub study to provide access on that end is complete, and the draft final reports being reviewed. The permanent transfer station, 2 sites have been narrowed down. This group of sites, that works continuing. Facilities master plan, the consultants, and that's specific. The consultant has submitted the final report for review. And then kind of related to that, the fleet storage next door demo and construction is anticipated to start this summer following the authorization from the board at the meeting. So we've got that. As Tricia mentioned, transit strategic plan will be coming to the board in May as well. That's required by GRTC. It's a 10-year outlook on capital and operating improvements. Any funding that we get from GRTC or that's sort of the highlights, high level. So it's going to be very good. That's it.
Any questions or comments for the development? We'll move on right to the next one.
All right, we won't kick you out this time. We reviewed the February financials, which were in the email that was sent out and also in your packet. John's here if we have any questions on anything in there. And then the work for the 25 budget is underway. And we will be reviewing this whole. Any questions?
We just went and able to get the voting.
Good stuff. Smooth meeting so far. Let's keep it going. We have our Chief Executive Officer's report.
I just have one thing, I want to let the board know that management and ATU is working on a mentorship program. We're gonna start off with our bus operators. ATU has done this at other transit agencies, and it's been a success, and it helps with retention of operators, so we're working to get that program online. See how much care about with new operators. See, they'll be there to assist the operators in whatever means necessary, and we're gonna start off with the trial, so our next class, once we have it up and running, we'll only care 50% of the new operators to speak there, but 50% have to stay with the that is not. Once we get that program up and running, we'll look at an apprenticeship program. We are excited about that.
Good stuff. As the support for the chair, we'll have hand it over to our board chair's report. Any other updates? Chair,
No board chair, thank you, for stepping in.
happy to.
Took me a little longer to get from the run. I don't know what's going on with traffic, but because I gotta leave 15 minutes early to get to the south side. But I don't have any special reasons.
Any other business to bring before this committee? Board meeting? Are we on record time, 30 minutes? Well, we're now adjourned.
I didn't realize.
Okay. Go work on some bus stop.
Yes. Understand.
Yeah, no problem.